Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's get straight into today's story. Suella Braverman defecting to Reform UK isn't just another Westminster headline. It's a signal flare, a sign that something fundamental was broken inside British politics, and that even senior figures who help run the system no longer believe it can deliver what it promises. For years, voters have been sold a simple story. The Conservatives stand for borders, law, order and national control. Labour stands for competence and stability. Yet, regardless of who's in power, the outcomes barely change. Immigration remains uncontrolled, enforcement weakens, institutions drift further away from the public. Braverman's defection cuts straight through that illusion. She didn't leave quietly or drift into irrelevance. She walked away from the Conservative Party because, in her view, it no longer even attempts to act on the principles it claims to believe in. And when a former Home Secretary says that, it matters. This isn't about a sudden ideological shift. Braverman didn't change overnight. What changed was the political ground beneath her. The party she served increasingly chose caution over action, process over outcomes, and institutional comfort over delivery. As Home Secretary, Braverman became associated with tougher rhetoric on borders and enforcement. But rhetoric is easy, delivery is hard, especially when a system resists enforcement at every turn. Over time, it became clear that meaningful action wasn't being blocked by lack of ideas, but by lack of will. And that's where the fracture began. The Conservative Party promised control, but governed with hesitation. Policies were announced loudly, then diluted quickly. Legal obstacles were treated as immovable facts, rather than challenges to be confronted. Ministers spoke tough but acted softly. Voters noticed. Braverman found herself isolated. Not because her position was extreme, but because it exposed how little appetite there was for real confrontation with a broken system. Eventually, she was pushed aside, and now she's walked away entirely. I think her move to Reform UK isn't about ambition, it's about alignment. Reform has built its appeal on a blunt claim. The system itself is broken, not mismanaged, not temporarily struggling, fundamentally broken. And Braverman joining them adds weight to that argument. She's seen the machinery from the inside, she knows where power stalls, and her defection tells voters this resistance isn't accidental, it's structural. That's what scares the political class. Defections like this punch the idea that all serious politics must stay within the same narrow framework. For decades, British politics relied on controlled opposition, parties swapped places but the direction barely shifted. Reform threatens that arrangement by pulling voters, and now politicians, out of it altogether. Critics will say this is opportunism, that Braverman is chasing relevance, but that argument misses the point. If the Conservative Party was still capable of delivering what is promised, figures like Braverman wouldn't be leaving, they'd be leading. Instead, we see a party paralysed by fear of legal challenge, media backlash, institutional pushback and elite opinion. Action was replaced with messaging, delivery was replaced with reassurance, and credibility drained away. Reform, by contrast, has benefited from clarity. It doesn't pretend the system works. It says it doesn't. The message resonates because it reflects what people experience daily. Pressure on housing, stretched services, weak enforcement and endless excuses. Braverman joining Reform strengthens that contrast. It tells voters that it isn't just anger from the outside. It's confirmation from someone who helped run the system and walked away. And once politicians start defecting, the dam cracks. Others began to ask whether loyalty to a failing structure makes sense, whether staying inside a party that won't act is actually worse than leaving it. That's how political realignments start, not with revolutions but with credibility shifts. Now, timing matters too. Trust in politics is already low, turnout is fragile, voters feel unrepresented. Into that environment steps a former Home Secretary, effectively saying the system doesn't do what it claims, and that's explosive. The establishment will try to dismiss this as noise, but noise doesn't cause defections, pressure does. And that pressure has been building for years among voters who feel their concerns, especially around borders, law and national control, have been ignored. This isn't just a Conservative problem, it's a warning to Labour as well. If voters are willing to abandon one establishment party, they're willing to abandon another. Once the illusion of inevitability breaks, politics changes fast. Suella Braverman didn't just defect from a party, she defected from the pretense that British politics will still work as advertised. And that should worry everyone at the top. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more honest political commentary and don't want to miss what's really happening behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below.